So in my last video, I asked this question. If you're the one with the self-love and, people are saying all these things about you, all of that stuff wouldn't even matter anymore because you truly believe that you're the best person you can be, and that's all that should really matter, right? But what happens when you're in an environment where you just haven't discovered self-love yet? Better yet, what happens when the people you're surrounded by make you feel like crap? How do you have that self-love at that point? Now, when I asked this question, I was referring to where the F do you find self-love when you're experiencing depression for the first time and while you're also feeling suicidal and you're only 14 years old. Well, yeah, that was me. When I was 14, I remember asking myself if I was even going to be alive in a decade, and that decade now leads to today, and I'm 24 and I'm still goddamn here. 10 years later, and I still held on to that hope that things were going to get better and that, it was just only the beginning. And I was right. I was goddamn right. Because you know what, MS? I was goddamn ready for you. Hey guys, so in this video, I really want to be talking about something that I feel ties in with having multiple sclerosis, and that is depression. Given that it's also my birthday today and I'm now 24, I can finally say it's officially been a decade since being suicidal. And I never once thought I'd be alive today. And I just thought I would film this video to talk about some of the stuff that I've experienced, because I do feel like it ties in with multiple sclerosis and one of the symptoms that I'm thinking right now, which is depression. And yeah, so before I even begin this video, you guys are already going to know what I'm about to say. And that's to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to give me a birthday present, just subscribe. Just subscribe and help me reach the 2K by the end of this year, because I think that'd be so cool. You guys are amazing. And yeah, so for now, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Prior to university, I've been bullied all my life. So I've been bullied in elementary school, middle school, and even high school. And then in university, I think in my first year, there were like a few instances where people were just being annoying, but I just learned to ignore that. But yeah, and when you start a new school, you would think that maybe you can have a fresh start and no one's gonna bully you. But no, I was wrong. I was 100% wrong, because people just honestly grew more horrible, at least with me. Everyone just decided to bully me because I was the quiet one. I was a quiet one that just didn't really speak my mind at the time. I was a quiet one that just didn't have any friends, and that's what made me, I guess, the target for people, because it was like people knew how to make me feel bad, so they would bully me a lot. The one experience I'm thinking about right now that led me to being suicidal was in high school. In high school, it came to the point where I was being bullied a lot, where rumors were spread about me within the entire school. Now, with these rumors being spread about me in the entire school, people just obviously didn't like me, right? The principal called me into the office to literally tell me that I was suspended for 3 days. So she's literally suspending me for 3 days, thinking that, I'm in trouble and I should be worried, in which I was. But those 3 days that I got to be at home, I was the most happiest person ever, because it's like when you get to actually be at home and not have to make an excuse to your parents that you don't want to go to school because you're being bullied, it was kind of making it easier for me to be like, you know what, I don't need to go to school because they don't want me at school for 3 days, So being suspended was like bittersweet, because I also missed a science test. I never did well with science. I hated it so much, even in university. Psychology is what I failed in first year university, in case you're wondering. I took it again and I got an A, but that's just because I took it again. I also had no friends. No one wanted to be my friend. Why? I don't know. I wasn't even a horrible person. I was really the person that I am right now, like the person that you see on the camera. But it's like, people just did not want to be friends with me. They just really didn't like me. So it was like, when you're younger, you don't realize that it literally comes out of jealousy, because I think about it now and I'm like, wow, people are actually jealous of me. Maybe my sisters were right. Maybe I should take bullying as a compliment, because people were just intimidated by me. But I sat on the staircase every single lunchtime by myself, eating my lunch. People would walk up and down the stairs right by me, not even ask me if I'm okay. Even the teachers didn't even give a damn. Like, some of the times I was actually had like tears on my face, not a single teacher asked me if I was okay. Like, Maybe it was just the high school I was at that wasn't the best high school, but goddamn, people can be so horrible. So for those of you who don't know, depression is a common symptom to multiple sclerosis. After getting my multiple sclerosis diagnosis, I've experienced depression twice. Once in high school and then once in 2017, shortly after my diagnosis. And with being young, experiencing depression, it was very scary for me because I've always had these thoughts that I never knew how to explain to people, nor did I just want to talk about it because I just learned to keep to myself. Like everything that I thought in my head just stayed in my head. But experiencing depression for the first time as well, right? My question here is, do I have multiple sclerosis because I've experienced depression twice at this point? And this is just a question I'm never going to have the answer to. And I know a lot of us MSers are always going to have questions that we're never going to get answers to, and that's the frustrating part. It's so frustrating, but you just have to keep smiling through it all, Pri. So smile through it all and it'll be okay, right? But with being depressed, what did that mean for me when I was 14? Well, people just told me it was in my goddamn head. And you know what? I didn't realize it at the time, but they were right. It was in my goddamn head. Thanks, MS. And this just gets into my next point. I spent years believing that, you know what? Maybe it is in my head. Maybe it's in my head because everyone else is telling me it's in my head. So it has to be in my head, right? But to only find out a few years later that it really was in my head because I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And multiple sclerosis, well, you goddamn fucking played with me. You goddamn tried me. And it's like, now with everything being all in my head, what did this mean? Well, I started to have suicidal thoughts. Now, this gets into my next point. It came to the point where when I was 14, with feeling suicidal, I started to cut my wrist. Now, I cut my left wrist because I'm right-handed. It's a work of art, or at least that's how I thought of it. I sound like a freaking psycho. I would never do it again. I'm just letting you know right now. Decade. I felt like I had to do something that would make me smile, would make me happy, would make me feel like being alive because I was trying to fight it off, you know? So I started to cut my wrist because over time, it made me feel better. I started like around over here where I did the random scratches. So I just cut it like this. Oh my gosh. Okay, I didn't mean to cry on my birthday, but it's just like I'm thinking about how far I've come. So there's that, right? I'd cut myself because it would make me feel better. Now, those scars lasted 2 years. But even while doing it, I just kept doing it day after day, and then I had all these scars. Now, I also got bullied for that too, because when I was in high school, I never wore long sleeves. I always wore things that weren't long sleeves. So people could obviously see my arm, right? So when they would see these scratches, they would know automatically that, okay, this girl's cutting herself. What is she doing? And then at a certain point, I was like, I need something more meaningful than this. It makes me feel good cutting myself, but why doesn't it make me feel good enough? Is what I thought in my head. And at that point, I'm like, okay, when I think of a word, what word do I wish I could have right now? And it was hope. It was hope because I was just hoping that things would get better and that everything, I'm sorry. I was like freaking tearing up right now and I'm like trying not to ruin my makeup. And I remember asking myself, if there's one word I can tell myself that would probably make me feel better, what is that word? And I was like, hope. The word hope speaks so much to me. And I was like, awesome. So let's cut that word onto your wrist. and I cut the word hope onto my wrist, hoping that, you know what, it'll last forever, and then that would make me smile and happy, right? And for 2 years, it lasted. It was there for 2 years. Having all of these suicidal thoughts, right? You guys are probably wondering how I got through it and how I was coping through it, you know? And this just gets into my next point. At the end of high school, I ended up having 3 social workers. Because when one social worker didn't work for me, they would call in another social worker. When that one wouldn't work for me, they would call in another one. And 3 times the charm, right? Because the third one, I absolutely loved her. I just don't remember her name. That helped me cope through it because I stopped self-harming at that point, right? There's been quite a few of you guys who messaged me on Instagram to ask me how I'm such a strong person. And this is why. It's because I hit rock bottom when I was 14. And yeah, it's like for me, I don't believe in God, but I do believe that things happen for a reason. So I do believe that with being bullied as much as I had been, I feel like has essentially made me a really strong person. It was interesting because for me, prior to my multiple sclerosis diagnosis, I was terrified that I was going to pass away. But why I was also terrified was because I wanted to kill myself in grade 9. So when I was thinking about the moment of wanting to actually be alive for once while I was in university, it's like, why did I ever feel that way? Now that I actually get a life, it's like, it's going to end so soon. And that's when I got my MS diagnosis and I was like, oh, that's it. Prior to turning 20, it meant that I wasn't going to be a teenager anymore. And I knew that my experience with being a teenager was so horrible, but it was at a point where I just felt like it was something I always wanted to remember. Not of all the bad things I've experienced, but I wanted to remember it in the sense of me being a very strong person for even making it alive out of high school, you know? I ended up getting a tattoo on the very wrist I cut myself, and it's the word hope. And it says hope, but it also has a period. But why I put a period there, or I had them put a period there, was because it was over. I didn't have to be I wasn't a teenager anymore. I wasn't going to be suicidal anymore. So putting a period there meant that I was over it. I was never going to do such a thing to myself anymore. And this tattoo means a lot to me because it also, people ask me how painful it was because apparently wrist tattoos are really painful. And I remember my tattoo artist, when he was doing it, he asked me, he's like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how painful is this? Because I literally looked like I was emotionless, like I wasn't in pain or anything. And I literally looked at him and I was like, you started? And he literally looked at me like, I started like 10 minutes ago. And I was like, wait, what? I was so clueless about when he was starting because I thought he was just drawing on my wrist because it was tickling for me. It didn't even hurt. But perks of MS because my wrist was numb at that time, so honestly, I should have got more tattoos because they wouldn't have hurt. I have one over here too. This one says breathe. This one specifically because of MS, but yeah. When I thought I had no friends, I was wrong. I had an entire community supporting me, and yes, it wasn't while I was in high school, but you guys, I don't know if I've said this enough, or said this at all really, but the MS community and the OAB community, and for those of you who just watch my videos and support me, you guys mean the world to me. You guys mean the world to me because I was a very girl that believed that I was not going to have one single friend, and I was wrong because the MS community and the OAB community, as well as the rest of you who also support me, like family or just friends, you guys have been amazing. And I wake up every morning feeling so good, feeling so like happy because it's like I have so many people who care about me, and it means the world to me because I never had that when I was 14. I never had that at a time where I needed it the most, and now that I have it, I'm so goddamn glad I never committed suicide because I wouldn't have met you guys. And yes, a lot of you guys are honestly in the States, and that's okay because I'm in Canada, but I guess we're neighbors, right? So that's pretty much it to my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to do my best to try to get this video up for today, which is November 5th. If not, it'll probably be up for tomorrow. But I don't have any plans for today, so I think I should be able to get it up for today. But yeah, so that's pretty much it to my video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about this video, because I would love to hear from you, or even message me on Instagram because I'd also love to talk to you guys. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram and check out my blog. I'll post links down below as always. And I'll see you guys in my next video that will be up soon. So bye guys.